I've published a new book. It's called IELTS Academic Writing Practice. It's the best book that's ever been written. Actually, probably not. But I think it will be really helpful for anyone who's taking the academic exam, the IELTS Academic. Now, there's two versions of the IELTS exam, right? There's the IELTS General Training and the IELTS Academic. Which one are you taking? Is there a difference? Yes, there is a difference. There's actually a very big difference between the general and academic because on task 1, it's a completely different question, right? On the general exam, on task 1, you have to write a letter, okay? But on the academic test, you have to answer a question about a chart or some visual information, and you have to put that information into sentences. Okay, so actually this can be a little bit tricky. You need to get some practice. So in my book, you're going to get some really great practice for task 1 and also task 2. Okay, but task 2 is the same for both general and academic, right? You just have to write an essay. Now, writing an essay is a little bit more challenging, I think, than either of these. And it's really important if you're going to be going to university somewhere. Okay, so if you're coming to Canada here to study in university or anywhere else in the world, you need to learn how to write essays. That's so important. When I think back on all the years I went to university, I wrote so many essays, so many different kinds of essays. Okay, so I'm really good at writing essays. So you need to develop this skill. So for the academic exam, I mean, this will be a very practical skill if you're going to university somewhere. If you're not going to university, writing essays is a little bit useless. I don't know why the general exam has an essay for writing task 2. It's sort of stupid because in real life, nobody writes essays. Essays are always an academic thing. Okay, so in my academic book, okay, this is really, really helpful for you. I mean, this is the same in both my books. Okay, task 2 is the same, but the difference is task 1. Okay, now in my books, I mean, it's just really simple. I give you 2 models, okay? I give you a model for task 1 that has 12 sentences. Okay, I teach you what the purpose of each sentence is. Okay, then for task 2, I give you a 16-sentence model. Okay, if you follow the models I teach you in this book, I think you're going to do really well on the exam. A lot of people, they don't really know how to write an essay, or they don't know how to write anything, how to structure their answer. So it can just seem like, I don't know, it can just be a little bit overwhelming. They know they have to write 150 words for task 1 and 250 words for task 2. So they just write. Okay, I think I have 150 words. I hope I get a good mark. Okay, that's not a very good plan. I hope you get a good mark, but you're going to get a much better mark, and it's going to save you time when you're doing the test if you use my models, because then you know what the purpose of each sentence is, and you know how to structure each paragraph. Okay? So hey, if you want to get a copy of my book, you can just go to my website, metv.cool, and you can buy a PDF that you can download right from my website. Okay, this is my website here. You can just click on IELTS, and then you'll see both my general book and the academic book right there. Okay, so for each question in my book, you'll see 4 parts. Okay, there's the question, then some tips on how to answer that question, and then some vocabulary that I use in my answer. Okay, so you're going to see my answer to each question. I think that will be really helpful for you, and I'll give you some tips and vocabulary as well. Okay, so let's just take a look at a question from my book so you can get a good feel of what you can see in my book. Now, this is task 1. Okay, here's some visual information. Now, we have to put this into words, right? So let's see what it says. It says, the diagram below shows how a hydroelectric dam functions. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Okay, so here's the picture of the hydroelectric dam. Let's take a little bit closer look. Okay, see the water over there behind the dam? That body of water is called the reservoir. The reservoir, okay? Then that metal piece over there, that's called the intake. So the water goes through the intake, and then it goes in through the penstock here, and then it propels the turbine, which activates the generator inside the powerhouse. And then this moves the electricity to long distance power lines, and then the water here just keeps going down into the river. Okay, so we need to put that information into 150 words, into sentences. Paragraphs have a good structure. Do you know how to do that? Well, let's take a look at my tips. Now, I want to remind you that the answer needs to be at least 150 words. Okay, you should try to have, a few more than that. Now, in my model, the 12-sentence model, I think you will easily have 150 words. It depends on how long your sentences are. Have you ever counted the words in your sentences? You should count the words and see what the average number of words is. Okay, I mean, let's say you have 13 words in a sentence on average. Okay, that would give you 156 words. 12 sentences times 13 words in a sentence, that's 156 words. But a 13-word sentence, that's actually a very short sentence. Okay, some of your sentences will be maybe 10 words for a really short sentence, and maybe 15, 20 words for a longer sentence. So on average, I think you'll have maybe around 15 words per sentence. Okay, so that would give you more than enough words. Okay, but I just want to make sure you know that it has to be at least 150 words, or they're going to give you a penalty. You don't want to get a penalty. Okay, so in my tips, I give you an outline. How I would make an outline for this question. I think it's a good idea that you make a little outline before you start writing. That way it will be a lot easier for you when you actually start writing. Okay, so here are the 5 paragraphs. So in my book, I give you a 5-paragraph model. Okay, the first paragraph is the overview paragraph. Okay, then general trends paragraph. Then you have 3 specific trends paragraphs. Do you know what the word trend means? Trend means what's happening, what's changing, what's going on in the picture. Okay, general means overall. Okay, so what's the big picture? What's happening here? And then specific trends take a closer look at what's happening on the graph or the chart or the diagram, whatever it is. Okay, so here are some key terms that I use in my answer. Okay, accumulate, that means to gather or build up. Okay, portion, that means a part of. Grading, that means like a framework of bars. A framework of bars, it sort of looks like that. We have some bars going like this, and then some bars going like that. That's called a grading. Okay, and then propel means to move something, to propel something means like, yeah, when something moves something else. Okay, so let's just take a look at the diagram again. So see that intake there? That metal piece that looks like that, we could describe that as a metal grating. A metal grating, okay? So as the water comes down here, it propels the generator. Now, I just want to stop and I want to tell you something very important. When you look at a picture like this, you might feel really overwhelmed. Wow! How do I even answer this? You might be really intimidated. Okay, well, I want to say that even native English speakers might get intimidated by looking at a picture like this. Okay, look at this word, penstock. I've never seen that word in my life. Okay, I've never used that word. But obviously, that's what this thing is called in a hydroelectric dam. Okay, why don't I know this word? Well, I don't know anything about dams. Okay, I've never studied how dams work. Okay, so it's a very specific vocabulary word, penstock. So if you don't understand a certain word, okay, don't worry about it. Just try to figure out what's going on. Okay, figure out, what it is. If you don't know what intake is or reservoir is, okay, it doesn't matter. You can understand the meaning of the word from the picture. So don't let it don't let it affect your confidence. If you see all these big words, you don't know what they all mean. Okay, your confidence can just go straight down. Don't worry. Something like this can even be intimidating for native speakers as well. Okay, so let's take a look at my answer here. Okay, the first paragraph, the diagram shows the process of water creating electricity in a hydroelectric dam. Perfect. Okay, that's my overview paragraph. Just one sentence. That's fine. Now, in my model, when you get my book, you'll notice that the second sentence is describing the units in the chart or the diagram or something. Okay, so the second sentence would say something like this. The units on the graph are measured in meters or inches or something like that, okay? But on this diagram, there are no units. So we don't need that second sentence. So actually, my answer will be 11 sentences instead of 12. Okay, so let's go on to the next thing. Okay, but look at this. See, in the first sentence, that just gives a very good overview of what the picture is, right? The diagram shows the process of water creating electricity in a hydroelectric dam, right? It's showing the process, different pieces, how water is used to create electricity. That's basically what the information is about, okay? So now we're going to move to the general trends paragraph. Okay, it's good to start this paragraph with the word overall. Okay, overall, the dam operates by allowing water to pass from a higher point to a lower point. The force of the water activates a generator inside the powerhouse, which creates electricity. Okay, so this is just generally what is happening. How does this work? Well, water moves from a high place to a lower place, right? And that force of water, what does it do? It somehow creates the electricity. Okay, so that's the general trend in the diagram. Now let's look at the three specific trends paragraphs, okay? First, a large amount of water accumulates behind the dam. This body of water is known as the reservoir. A portion of the water from the reservoir passes through an opening called the intake, which appears to be a large metal grating located in the lower part of the dam wall. Next, the water travels through a long, narrow passage called the penstock. As the water passes through the end of the penstock, it propels the turbine. The water then continues downward into the river. As the turbine moves, it powers the generator inside the powerhouse. Electricity is then transferred from the generator to the long-distance power lines located outside the powerhouse. Okay, that's great. 3 good, specific trends paragraphs. What's going on in this picture? Well, my answer, I think, does a good job taking the visual information, the data, and putting it into words, sentences, paragraphs. Okay, so that's what you need to do. Now, you don't need a conclusion in task 1. On the academic. On the general, that's a different model. Okay, so on the academic, on task 1, you don't need a conclusion. You can just end it right there like that. Okay, now, my book has a bunch of grammar in it. Okay, I tried to teach you the most important things, some of the most common mistakes that people make. Okay, but really my book is not a grammar book. If you don't know how to write English at all, I mean, maybe my book is not the best for you. First, you should learn English. Learn how to write English. How do you write a good sentence? Okay, learn that first, then study for IELTS. Okay, I would say you should get my book 1 month before you take the exam. Okay, just 1 month. Go through each question, try to write your own answer before you read my answer. Then read my answer and compare it to your answer. Where did we differ? What things do you think you could do better? Okay, so I think this will really help you. Just a month before, pick up a copy of this book. I think it will really help improve your score. But I want to know, are you going to take the IELTS General Training Exam or the IELTS Academic? I think most of the people I've helped have taken the general training. I have helped some people do the academic, but I don't know what the numbers are. What percentage of people take the general? What percentage of people take the academic? I actually don't know. I would be curious to find out. So let me know down there in the comments which exam you're going to take, and I'll see you over in the next episode of Mad English TV. Take care.